The amount of taxpayers moving out of New York City, it's a lot.
1985, Madonna was turned down. She applied to buy a co-op in Manhattan, and the board turned her down.
And it was the tiniest space I'd ever seen. And it was about 2,000 more than the place that we ended up at a bedroom. They're like, if you put the bed this way, you can open the door all the way.
So my colleague goes, wow, look, it's Björk. And she flipped us the finger.
No.
Wow.
She did. Hi, welcome back to Mortgage Talks. I'm Imma, and my partner, mortgage icon Ionis Khan, is celebrating the holidays today and unable to join us. But today we have amazing guests that I'd like to introduce in just a couple of minutes. So I am a licensed broker in New York City. The company I own is Tyler Vincent Real Estate. I've been doing real estate for 18 years in downtown Brooklyn and all over the city in upstate New York. And today I'm so excited to introduce two amazing women and guests of ours for today's show. Janine Acquafredda, who is running for Brooklyn Borough President. And
Wait, we have to do our song.
Oh, we will get to the song.
Okay.
And Lucy Sliter, who
Everyone.
is a first-time homeowner and became a landlord. We talked a little bit about it
Thank you.
in the first episode with Ionis, who happens to be the mortgage broker on the deal. And so Lucy's here today to share with us some maybe fears that were associated with making the big jump off the diving board. And before we get into the show, I want to talk a little bit more about celebrities and real estate, because we did talk about that in the first episode. So just so you realize that celebrities, they are treated the same way we're treated. So I want you to know and not have any fears associated with buying a co-op or being rejected. There's a lot of talk all the time about discrimination in co-ops because they never disclose why you're turned down. In 1985, Madonna was turned down.
Oh, really?
And yep, she was. She applied to buy a co-op in Manhattan, and the board turned her down.
Wow.
They did not disclose why they turned her down. She believed it was because she was a celebrity, and it could very well be.
Possibly.
Yep. So celebrities, no matter who they are, go up against the same obstacles. So don't let any kind of fear hold you back, especially when you're thinking about buying real estate. So let's talk a little bit about what is real estate. Real estate is real property attached to land. It comes in many forms and sizes. You can use other people's money, like mortgages, to leverage your wealth. In real estate, it is one of the most powerful debt solutions around that can actually turn into gold. So Janine happens to also be in real estate as well, which makes it even better for everybody that in Brooklyn. Let's go, Brooklyn. Let's get Janine going.
Let's get me going.
So I do want to talk about something else. So in my past career, I was in the travel industry, and I handled all types of celebrities and politicians. So the reason I bring that up, Sex and the City. They had episode 6, I think it was episode 6 or something like that. You could look it up. It says jumping out of the frying pan was when Miranda was going to cross the bridge. Why am I bringing this up? In our first episode, we talked about how you might have to expand your boundaries to get what you want. Lucy's going to talk about that. She was living in Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. She's originally from California and now ended up in Yonkers. So it's really important to see that a lot of celebrities have moved to Brooklyn when they have the ability to live anywhere they wanted to live. But they got better value, bigger townhomes, bigger apartments. So if they can do it, so can you. Just break out that map, take out that wish list, and start planning. So Sex and the City, Sarah Jessica Parker was a client of mine in the travel business, and we used to talk on the phone all the time. She's very down to earth. She now lives in Brooklyn Heights. Matt Damon crossed the bridge also and lives in Brooklyn Heights. We have so many celebrities that are making the move to go to find better space, bigger space, and things that satisfy your lifestyle. And of course, most of them have underlying mortgages. So always coming back to our mortgage icon, who unfortunately
Are they buying
is not
under
here.
their name or LLC? Do you find?
Some of them are buying under their name, and some of them are, of course, buying under LLC. So that that's another thing we can cover in another episode.
Remember, I think it was Michelle Williams who didn't buy under an LLC, and everybody knew she moved to Ditmas Park. I think that's what had happened. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
was it Heath Ledger? I think Heath Ledger.
Oh, Heath Ledger? Yeah, he
was-
also
yeah, they
lived
bought
in
together.
Borum Hill. He lived in Borum Hill. So there's so many celebrities that ended up crossing that bridge. So it was kind of funny how Sex and the City was way ahead of their time when Miranda was considering the move over to the outer boroughs.
Wait, and do you remember the Real Housewives episode? The Real Housewives of New York, where the girl, there was one character, I don't know her name, but she lived in Brooklyn somewhere in a brownstone, and all the girls were like, ew, we have to cross the bridge.
Yeah, everyone treats the outer boroughs like, I don't know, like a bad thing, but there's so much value in the outer boroughs.
When I started selling real estate, I did not work in Manhattan. I worked in Brooklyn only, and I used to say, well, if you want a view of Manhattan, you have to live in Brooklyn.
Yeah, you do. Or Long Island City, you have an amazing view.
Amazing view from there. Oh my gosh,
from
my friend
Long
had
Island
one of the most amazing views.
So just look at people as people. We're all the same. So at the end of the day, they might have bigger obstacles. We might have larger, smaller ones. Whatever the case is, just don't let the fear hold you back. So and I have more to talk about as far as celebrities in Brooklyn Heights and getting the...
We want the tea.
I know, that's what I was thinking.
The hot tea.
I did not even know about this. This is awesome.
Oh, yeah. So, you want something else? Okay. I was
Yeah.
standing
Celebrity.
on the stoop.
Yeah,
Celebrity?
celebrities,
Okay.
let's go.
I was standing on the stoop on Henry and Atlantic with a colleague of mine, and we're talking, and all of a sudden, I don't know if you know Björk, but she's walking
Yes.
down the street. Some people know her. She wore like one year a swan dress or something shaped like a swan. I didn't even know who she was, and I didn't even recognize her at that moment because you're not expecting Björk to be walking down the street,
No.
in Brooklyn. So my colleague goes, "Wow, look, it's Björk," and she flipped us the finger.
No.
Wow.
She did. So unfortunately, yeah.
What a bee
Yeah.
Bjork is. Well, you know who else? The girl, Madonna's friend. She's in Windsor Terrace. When you said Bjork, she came to mind because she's got like the really blue eyes. What is her name? Italian.
I feel like
She's
Madonna's
got
friends
the
with
lisp.
everybody.
She's got the lisp. Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
oh.
You know what I'm talking about?
I know who you're talking
I think she
about.
was in Jungle Fever.
I can't remember.
Oh,
I'm so bad with that stuff.
Yeah, she
No, me
was.
too, when it
Oh
comes
my
to pop
gosh.
culture.
Well, it'll come
Well,
to us.
hopefully it'll come to her as we're filming.
I'll
But
Google it. Hold on.
So today's going to be
Debbie
kind of
Mazar.
fun. There you go. Another celebrity. There are so many writers and everyone right now living in Brooklyn and in the outer boroughs. And so outer boroughs, but like that's where it's at. But in the meantime, you expand your map, expand your horizons, and use a mortgage to get you there. Don't be afraid. If the millionaires can do it and the billionaires can do it, why can't you? So,
Absolutely.
Lucy's living proof. She came from California, looking for a rental,
Yes, started with a rental.
and landed in Brooklyn.
Yep. Yeah, my husband and I, we landed in Brooklyn. We were looking around. So my husband, he actually got accepted to school in Brooklyn. So we were going to Brooklyn. We knew we wanted to be there, but we did not know anything about the boroughs. So we were just trying to look for something within our budget. And funny enough, we had looked with another, real estate agent at another place down the road from where actually we ended up.
You had another real estate.
Well, we didn't have really a real estate agent. We just went with, whatever properties we saw, and then we reached out to the
Listing agent.
Yeah,
The
the
listing
listing
agent.
agent. I'm sorry about that. The listing agent. And we just reached out and said we wanted to take a look. So there was another place that we saw a couple blocks down. And we were looking with the real estate agent, and it was in Park Slope, and we didn't know about that, right? And we go up these 3 levels, and we're at the very top, and they open the door, and it was the tiniest space I'd ever seen, and it was about 2,000 more than the place that we ended up going for. And it was just insane. I mean, when they were showing us the bedroom, they're like, if you put the bed this way, you can open the door all the way. I go, where's the
my
closet?
gosh.
Oh, well, they use part of the living room as the closet. I'm like, we cannot do this. We need to get out of here. And we had...
New York is so wrong.
Oh, my God.
That's another episode I want to do anyway.
Oh, I have to come back on.
You'll come back on how some real estate agents really should be winning Oscars, Emmys, and all sorts of
Oh,
awards
no, I
for
wasn't going there.
Keeping a straight face while they're telling you to use your living room as a closet.
Oh,
I was going to talk
face.
about my sweaters in my oven. I was going to go that
Sweaters
direction.
in your
Yeah,
oven?
my
Oh,
sweaters
no.
in my oven. And I'm talking luxury building. And I'm not a kid. I'm already in my 30s. But I think that's what Sarah Jessica Parker did, no? I mean, I don't know. I actually never watched Sex in the City.
Oh, it was
but
great.
I had my sweaters in the oven. I had my shoes in the kitchen cabinet. It was
So then where
sad.
did where was the pantry? Like,
Well,
when
I
did you
just eat
cook?
out. I mean, you
Oh
just
my
eat
gosh.
out every meal.
I
It's
can't
actually
do
cheaper
that.
when you're single to eat out.
I guess so. I
Yeah.
guess that should actually make sense.
Yeah.
I love cooking too much. I've been tough. I mean, even with
So now when you're in a new home, you have a beautiful kitchen.
Yes.
So
Beautiful
Lucy went
kitchen.
from renting in Brooklyn. Go ahead. Just quickly about your experience in landing the rental.
Oh yeah, with landing the rental, it was amazing because then we went, like I mentioned, we were a couple blocks away from where we ended up being, which was with you. And so we saw this apartment with you. And first off, I want to mention that everyone else, every other listing agent that we went with, just felt like they were really focusing on themselves. Like it really felt like they were trying to sell us so that they could go ahead and seal the deal and get something. And for you, you really you could tell that you cared. And we were telling you about where we were, that my husband was going to be taking out a loan, and so we needed to have a guarantor. And you're like, that's totally fine. That we can work with that. That's that. If this feels right for you, we can work with that. And that just made us feel wonderful. And the place was just bigger than anywhere else we saw.
What neighborhood?
It was in Greenwood Heights.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, so it was great. And we didn't know, like I said, it was only a couple blocks away, maybe 2 blocks from this other place. So I'm thinking, okay, if this place is bigger, it has a backyard, this listing agent is wonderful, this feels like home, and it's under what the other place was. It just was right. And so we were wondering why, right? Once we got to know more about Brooklyn, we're like, oh, it's because we're in a different area. So it just but at the same time, it didn't feel like it. It felt like we were in South Slope. We were just 2 blocks away. So it was wonderful because we were still in, it just felt like the scene, there was really cool bars and pubs and shops all around really close to us. But yet we were in Greenwood Heights. So that, that point that you said earlier about being able to expand your horizons and being able to see in other boroughs, just be open to that because you never know what's going to happen because it was an incredible experience. We were there for 6 years.
Wow.
So that tells you something.
So being a renter for 6 years in Brooklyn, and then of course you got married and all that. And what was the determining factor to say, okay, it's time to look for a place to live, and share a little bit about the fears for first time buying, right? Because it's a big jump from renting to owning. It is a big jump. We're not going to kind of make light of that. Once you become a homeowner, there's a lot of other things that fall into play, but don't let that hold you back. So here's living proof that it could work, and then we'll finish off the story with how we just rented a unit in her 2-family house. They signed a lease, and so now they offset their mortgage, and that circles back to our first episode on why there's wealth and debt and why you can end up having this space you crave, because Yonkers is what delivered it for her.
Yes, no, absolutely. And so, absolutely. What happened was really we started thinking about this seriously 2020, funny enough. But then we're looking, we've always been looking at the market even though we weren't ready at that point. And then there was this huge jump. And so it did freak us out a little bit. We're like, well, we want to be able to buy in a couple years. How are we going to make that happen with all this going on? So we ended up seeing it as a time of opportunity to be like, okay, let's get some knowledge on this. Let's get some books. Let's talk to you. Let's get prepared so that when we are ready to buy, we kind of know what we're going into. So one of my tips that I would say is go and reach out to someone like Imma or get some books that of people who've succeeded in real estate and investing in that and see what you can learn, because there's a lot you can learn from out there. And like you were saying, it's a way to be able to actually create wealth. So once you kind of look at it in that through that lens, and then you kind of know what you're looking for. So essentially that's what we did. And so we got a lot of different kinds of books to be able to learn about those things. Like I said, spoke to you, and we ended up just really starting to see this idea of having a multifamily. So like you mentioned, we ended up purchasing a multifamily, and
which, can I just say, is so smart, because most people go from renting to just buying another liability.
I mean,
right, yeah.
Right? They're like,
right.
oh, I'm going to buy a home. I'm investing in a home. And it's like, no, it's not an investment unless you're earning income off of it.
Right.
It's a liability.
Yeah. No, and we saw that. I mean, it just also felt impossible all of a sudden, especially for my age group, millennials. It just all of a sudden with that jump, we're like, we cannot buy the home that we want first. We need to work up to that. So I appreciate you saying that.
Stepping stones.
That's stepping stones.
Mm-hmm. So it doesn't mean she's going to stay there forever, but in a couple of years she could pull out the equity.
Well, she just said.
Yeah. So in a couple of
You
years,
just said. What did you just say? That was so interesting the way you put it, though. You
Honestly,
said
don't
this
even
is
know
the
how
house
to-
that we're going to buy first.
This first,
to
and then
get
we'd be
there.
there for a couple years,
Yeah.
and we always knew this isn't the end game. We want to be able to grow. Like as our life grows, as our love grows, we also want our house to grow.
Yeah.
So,
And you know very well, most people do not stay in the first thing they buy for even 10 years.
No, they don't. Not anymore. That my time frame, they used to say 30 years and 40 and then pass it on to their children. The newer age generations like millennials, or I don't even know what comes after mine, Gen X, but I mean,
Gen Y?
Gen Y
Wait,
and Z.
I don't even know.
Before.
But
Millennials are the youngest.
they say an
right
average
now.
of 5 to 7
No,
years,
there's-
depending on the size of their situation. But stepping stones is critical. So now, hopefully, in a couple of years, when she decides to expand her family and look for something else, she'll have some equity in that house. So we're going to circle back to why you turn your debt into gold. So she'll be able to pull out some equity and use it to buy the house that she actually wanted, or in the area that she actually had her heart set on originally before they found what filled their needs. If you meet 80% of what you want, then you go for it. It doesn't have to be in the one specific area you thought it was going to be in. And if they're wise, they'll keep that as an investment and rent out the other unit, let it pay for itself, and now they create a nice, legacy in real estate, right? A portfolio that can enhance their life and will enhance the life of their future children if they so choose to have them, or their puppy. And, you can leave real estate to dogs too. Did you know that, Janine? You can.
I did, but I'm not planning to do that.
So,
I have
did not know that.
You can.
I have a wild death and retirement plan around real estate, and we should actually do something about that.
Yes.
My plan is just wild.
So
I would
you
love
can
to
do
hear
that
that.
too. But so Lucy's living proof that it can happen, right? So I'm happy that Lucy was here to share her story, and she'll talk a little bit more about that as we go on. To circle a little bit more on some other parts of real estate, because I don't want to discount renting too much, because I know the bulk of the population is in a rental situation. You have to utilize it to your advantage while you're renting if you plan to secure housing. The reason why real estate is a steady market, it fluctuates, yes, but it is a better option than the stock market. We'll always need housing. You'll always need to secure a roof over your head, whether it's in the form of renting or owning. And just remember that as long as we continue to have children and grow families, they're going to need housing also. So always look at real estate, bring an awareness that real estate's critical. And if you're willing to pay rent, why not invest in yourself? So if you're willing to pay rent and you're able to save while you're paying rent, then that's the plan, and that's what you start. Everything has to start at page 1. We can't jump into the future. So in real time, with real people and real stories, we want to keep it that way so that you understand it is possible. And talking about renters, and Janine is going to speak a little bit about affordable housing in New York City. Mm-hmm. And do a little bit of myth busting here, or maybe, some kind of like
a lot of myth
stuff
busting
that makes people very uncomfortable. So I happen to have on my a TikTok channel a lot of talks that I do with taxpayer assisted programs and vouchers and the difficulties they face in finding housing. And that is a very soft spot for me in my heart, because I'm not happy that our elected officials continue to abuse the taxpayer system in that way. Yes, there's a need, and I'm all for it. But when you create a supply and demand issue, it becomes a true hardship, right? So the amount of people that are on these programs is staggering, and they cannot find the housing because the supply is so low. So what does that do? It makes it near feeling impossible. And I use the word feeling impossible because it's not impossible, because if you follow some of my success stories on there and you call and you get up and you help yourself, you will be able to place yourself. But at the end of the day, when you have very limited supply and a tremendous demand for housing, it will only drive rents higher, not lower. Mm-hmm. So affordable is like an oxymoron in New York City, okay? So, and it comes up to this. You're going to go up against people who have all of the check boxes and the checklist correct. So how do you stand out? You have to find something that will make you stand out and land it. But most of all, it requires your energy, your time, and your attention. You have to call your elected officials. You have to make phone calls, and you have to demand that if they can give you a voucher, they must give you a list of housing that accepts the voucher, which it is legal lawful income, must be accepted by all landlords. Very few exceptions exist, but you must remain persistent. That's the only way to beat the resistance, and that's the only way to get where you need to go. So Janine is going to talk a little bit about the FAIR Act, which has to do with our profession, and the public, which is so unfair. And she's also going to talk on affordable housing, and she'll also touch a little bit on the vouchers and how, unfortunately, it has increased the rents in New York City, not decreased them. So Janine? What would you like to start with?
Do I speak directly to you? Do I speak to you,
Speak to the
gals?
people.
Okay. Well, there's so much to unwrap here. First of all, what I find amazing is just how many people use vouchers. In Brooklyn alone, over 75,000
Wow.
renters use vouchers. And I want to know why. You know, because it wasn't this way in 2016. I had a memory pop up on my Facebook that it was a rental that I was advertising. $1,600 a month for a 2-bedroom.
Wow.
$1,600 a month for
days.
a 2-bedroom. Okay. And vouchers were we've always had vouchers, right? This is not a new thing, but in 2021, I think it was, they really started to be enforced. And so what happened between 2016 and my $1,600 2-bedroom and 2021, it now became a $3,800 rental. Why? Well, because, and they say, the government says that they're basing these voucher amounts on market rates, but they're not. They can actually go 110% above what they call a market rate. I don't know where they're getting the market rate number from, but again, less than 10 years ago, $1,600 for a 2-bedroom. Now, well over $4,000, and a voucher is covering what, $3,700 for a 2-bedroom?
I get calls. They have vouchers over $4,000 now, and they still can't find housing.
So, I mean, so there's, you know, we could talk about the reasons why they still can't find housing, because I kind of disagree on there is no housing. But the reality is these vouchers have made rents explode. And that's not to say the vouchers aren't good. I come from the projects, you know. Thank God subsidized housing was available when my mom needed it. And they're important programs, but they are not being, I guess, run the right way. Checks and balances with the programs. There's a lot of abuse.
That's also a stepping stone, right? So you use it in the time of need, and you try to scale up.
Well,
you try to use it as a stepping stone.
I was very grateful that my mom had, you know, an opportunity to have us in a housing in NYCHA. At the same time, I was super grateful I got out. You know, so what is the city's plan when they're giving out these vouchers to get people out of that
Doesn't seem
situation,
like that is
right?
the
Where's
goal.
the incentive?
There's no plan.
Well, guess what? There better be a plan, because we cannot sustain this. You know, the amount of people moving out, the amount of taxpayers moving out of New York City is well, decreasing from 2020, but it's a lot. It's a lot of people that lived here, taxpayers that moved out, and who's coming in? Non-taxpayers. So we need these taxes to pay for these important programs.
Absolutely.
This is not sustainable.
No.
And there are people, and you know, I think about my mom, right? 3 small kids. My dad just up and left her. My mom worked 2 jobs, but she just couldn't, you know, she needed help. There are people who genuinely need these programs, and we need to make sure that they're there and they're funded. And so we've got to come up with a system of, you know, you get off of the voucher, you get into some affordable housing, you get into regular housing, and you get into a lottery to buy something. You know,
yes,
I don't think we talk about that enough. We don't talk about people becoming homeowners. Anybody can become I'm telling you right now. Anybody, I'm telling you right now.
I agree.
I don't care if you're homeless today, you can become a homeowner.
Absolutely.
I agree on that.
They need to see the way.
Okay, you can even talk about a little bit. Let me know what. There's so many people that have no idea what an HDFC co-op is. No one understands that there's so many opportunities there.
We have the housing lotteries. We have HDFC. We have Mitchell Lama. We have, what the heck else do we have? We have so many. I mean, we have so many amazing programs, but nobody's talking about the path to homeownership.
Right. I do on my TikTok. So I do talk about how they can create a stronger package for themselves and how they can make themselves somewhat equal to the demand that's out there, right? So when you're going up against someone, if I were to get $1 for everyone who just calls me, and the first thing out of their mouth that they allow to define who they are is, I have a City FEPS voucher. Can you help me? City FEPS voucher is lawful legal income. I don't need to know it's a voucher, number one. We just need to know what your income is. We just need to know where you land in credit, and if you need credit help, we can get you that.
Absolutely.
We just need to know what is it exactly that you're doing. If you have a side hustle, let me know. I want to help you create that folder. I've done it before. I've spoken to people before. I just will not be able to run around the city looking for apartments. I just don't do that. But at the end of the day, if I have a listing that I'm showing, rest assured, anyone with a voucher is more than welcome to come take a look at it. I don't mind putting listings out on rentals. I do predominantly sales. But whenever I have that opportunity, I always open it up to everyone.
But case managers should be doing that.
Case managers are not doing it. They're failing and they should be fired.
They're failing.
And I know no one likes to hear that word.
No,
They
but the
should be
frustration
fired.
from people who are already frustrated with their situation. I mean, imagine being, I don't know, a victim of domestic abuse and
Yeah.
you've got to leave.
I get a ton of
and
those
now you're in a
calls.
shelter.
Yeah,
right?
that's who
and,
calls.
and you don't want to be in a shelter with your children.
Right.
No, of course
especially
not.
the way they're running these
Yeah.
shelters.
Right.
So, like, how frustrating is it to be in that situation and then to have a case manager who doesn't get back to you, or who says, "Oh, I found an apartment, but I can't go see it for 2 weeks. Let me call the agent." The agent's not going to do.
Can I ask you why? Like, why is it like that? Why is it that the case managers don't? You would think they're in this profession because they wanna help. Are they just overrun? Are they overwhelmed? Like, what do you think?
I'll tell you what it is. I've been doing these videos now for quite some time regarding city thefts and trying to empower the people that, yes, need the system. They are calling, they're complaining about the fact that they're living in a shelter. Most of them are domestic violence, unfortunate situations. However,
is that true? I have to.
I have
most
so
of it?
many.
Heartbreaking.
However, just to touch base on Lucy's question here, the case managers are not trained properly. They're just job takers. They're just sitting there pushing paper.
That's such a shame.
Getting a guaranteed salary, guaranteed health
salary,
insurance, and I don't know. what
every
else they
single
get.
text message I get or phone call that I've received, it's unfortunate that I refer them back to their case manager and they tell me the case manager hasn't done anything and they're in the shelter now a year. Then it goes on to 2 years and before you know it, they're like, just really, really, really unfortunate that.
And that's why when somebody like you says, "Hey, listen, you can actually own a home one day," they're like, "Yeah, no,
No,
Right,
because-
they lose
like
hope.
they've lost
Right,
hope.
they lost
and
hope.
it's really hard to see how good it can be and how it's like we were talking about this not here today, but just feeling stuck. I mean, it's so easy to get stuck, and it doesn't have to be that way. And if too many people stay stuck, we're not going to have these programs will not. They'll collapse.
They'll collapse.
They'll just
No,
collapse.
They have to collapse because
You've
it's
got to
just
have
not
people come in
sustainable.
and out. In and out.
In and out, exactly. And empower the people who are in this on these programs and part of that assistance to see that there is a future, to see that the best thing you can ever do is try to secure some type of home, and residence for yourself. I helped someone years ago. They were in Bed-Stuy in an illegal sublet. They ended up getting evicted. They were trying to buy a home. Just a really quick story, and then we're going to circle back on the Fair Act and everything else. But I would love to have them on one day. I was working at the Corcoran Group at the time, and what ended up happening was they called me off a random postcard. Supposedly, somehow they got my number. At first, I thought I was being tested because it was so bizarre. They had a pre-approval letter from a VA. He was a vet and all this stuff, and it was only for $250,000. And I'm thinking it's 2016. What are we going to buy for $250,000 in Brooklyn? I invite them into my office. I sat with them. She started crying, and because it's a real hardship. Like, where do you go? So here's a success story. I told her, broaden your horizon. She goes, what do you mean? She goes, she had a job. She worked for the city. I said, broaden your horizon. She goes, where to? Wherever your money lets you go. I'm doing a random search because we cannot guide you into an area. So I did a random search. I didn't even put in neighborhood, just clicked all of New York. And I did a budget up to $259,000. I ended up selling them a house in Mastic, Long Island. They still live in that house today. We closed 3 days before Christmas that year. 3 days before Christmas. And I managed to flip them out of the VA loan, which was not even worth the paper it was printed on, and into 100% financing, all while they were evicted and living in a hotel.
Wow.
So there is hope, and they're still there, and they still call me, and they still show their gratitude. And these stories are real.
Oh,
they
and
do
by the
happen.
way, we were talking about the programs for renters. What about the first time home buyer down payment assistance program?
There's a ton of those.
You can couple those with programs or special offers from banks. And right now I can find $120,000 of free money, like real free money, right? There's nothing free. I should never use the word free because somebody's paying for it.
Someone's paying for it.
$120,000 for a down payment. So, but again, who's talking about this to anybody?
Nobody. So no one's
Nobody,
bringing
yeah.
awareness to these things, so people feel hopeless. And all we're trying to tell you is that don't feel hopeless, don't surrender, call a professional, and we'll be able to guide you. At least give you the tools that you're not getting from the public. Call your elected officials. Why did you vote for them? If they're not protecting you and they're not defending you and they're not helping you, don't vote for them. It's just that simple. It's easy to write a piece of paper. You know, I always say the most dangerous weapon in the United States is a pen. And at 2 a.m, they sign all this stuff into law, and it's a pen. The pen is the most dangerous weapon. Don't ever kid yourself. All these laws get passed by a stroke of a pen. While you're sleeping, while we're sleeping, we woke up one
Without
day.
community input.
The 2019 Act was passed. The governor just flipped everything upside down. Everybody woke up to new laws. When did they pass it? 2 o'clock in the morning when we're sleeping. So at the end of the day, you don't like it, get up and change it. That's the beauty about being in the United States of America. We have a voice. We're allowed to use it. Use it. Use it to your advantage. Don't be afraid to call the mayor's office and the governor's
He's in the Dominican Republic right now on city business. No,
I
I'm
did
not
know
kidding.
that.
He flew out today to the Dominican Republic on city business.
To do what?
City business?
To grieve with the Dominicans.
Oh,
You know,
well.
the tragic...
Yeah, the tragic
yeah,
roof
yeah.
collapse.
In the club,
Probably,
yeah.
and I can't wait to see what the engineers say is the reason for the roof collapse, because that'll be in my next
Oof,
episode.
right.
Because we
Not
spoke a little
good.
bit about inferior construction in the first episode, so I'm going to circle back with that once we figure it out. So Janine wants to talk a little bit about the FAIR Act, and she's running for Brooklyn Borough President, like I mentioned before, in case you're just tuning in.
Yes.
And she's the first Latina female
Yes.
to run, going in a male-dominated field. So what does that feel like? You
What does that
changed your
feel like?
political party.
Well, you know, I just want to circle back to something you said. You said, don't be afraid to use your voice. If you see something that you don't like, speak up. Call your elected officials. So the reason why I decided 2.5 months ago to get into politics is because I was sick and tired of the politicians getting into the real estate business, right? So they passed this FAIR Act, which basically said, you know, it was just all the verbiage around it. It was like, real estate agents are forcing you to pay broker fees, and we're going to put a stop to the greedy real estate agents and their ridiculous broker fees when all they do is open a door. Okay, so first it was like the way that they talk about real estate agents and what we do and how greedy we are, and, you know, how we force people to pay us to do nothing but open a door. And then they create this legislation called the FAIR Act, which is basically supposed to make housing more affordable for renters, which it will not do. And basically they're doing that by saying how real estate agents can get paid and who pays them. And to me, it was just such a direct attack on my industry and on me. Like, how dare you tell me how much I can make and who pays me? And like, these city council people, they make like almost $200,000 a year. Am I telling you that you're making too much money? And by the way, you know, they come in and they run for office. And their first year, right? Their first year, they're making $160,000, $170,000. And it's like,
Yeah.
you know, a typical real estate agent makes under $50,000 a year.
That's shocking.
Typical in New York City.
In New York City?
An average real estate agent makes under 100.
For what the prices are, you would not think that.
I know, right?
Well,
but it's
listen.
true, but
First of all, for what the prices are, you know, everyone thinks we make 6% commissions. We don't make 6% commissions.
Right.
We negotiate our commissions with our clients,
Yes.
with other real estate brokers. So let's just say, you know, we make $50,000 on a commission. 25,000 of that goes to our office.
Yeah.
50% of the 25,000 we're left goes to the government because we also pay self-employed tax. And then, you know, we have to pay rent for our office. We have to pay our own health insurance.
So what's left for you? You
Not
just-
much.
Not
At
much.
the end of that.
I made 24 cents an hour when I filed my taxes last month. For 24 cents an hour. That's what I
Yeah.
made.
Do you need a voucher?
Is that exactly is that what
I
you meant?
totally need a voucher. I don't qualify because they're going to go off of my income before expenses are factored in. It's real. It's crazy. But, you know, like, how dare these public officials, these politicians tell me, first of all, how I should get paid, right? Who's going to pay me? And how dare you tell the public that it's going to make housing more affordable for you? let's just be real. You want to be real? You said this is a real
people,
you want to be
real solutions,
real? Let's be real. Okay. So now if a landlord hires me to market their rental, when the Fair Act goes into effect in June, the landlord is now required to pay me my commission, not the tenant. Right? Even though the tenant is going to call and say, hey, I want to see this apartment. Hey, can you help me with the paperwork? Hey, can I see it again with my mother? Oh, can I see it a third time with my sisters and brothers? Oh, can I see it at night? Can I see it when it's daytime? I just want to hear, sometimes you're showing the same apartment five is a little much, but definitely more than once. Okay. But anyway, the landlord told me, we want you to market our listing. And so now they have to pay. Landlords are not used to paying our commission for this. So they're going to say, okay, just put it in the rent.
And
how much is your commission? How much is your commission? Well, and I always charged 1 month's rent. I thought that was fair.
Me too.
I was never that
same.
15% of the annual. Some of these agents in Manhattan, 30% of the annual rent. I was never that kind of person.
Wait, not to interject, but I have to, because if you remember back when Governor Cuomo was in office, we woke up one day and he was like, oh, the fees are going to be paid by the landlords. They got pushed back by all the big firms. And he flipped it and they changed it. But in that moment, the first thing the landlord said to us, and even at all of the large firms in New York City, they're offsetting that fee in the rent.
Yeah.
So now that rental apartment that you thought you can afford at $3,000 just went up to $3,400 or $3,300 to offset that commission.
Yep.
And now that commission does range from anywhere from 1 month's fee to 15% of the annual, which becomes exorbitant, right? So you break that up over 12 months and now you no longer afford the apartment you thought your voucher might cover. Forget about that. That went right out the window.
Yep.
So what are we doing here? We're creating tangled webs.
Yep.
And I'm glad that you brought those other points up before, because honestly, in life, they say, your network is your net worth.
Absolutely.
Okay? Don't believe in smoky mirrors or smoke and mirrors, whatever that saying is, because I never get them right, but you get the gist, right? Because behind every front runner who's talking is a whole different story on the back end. So don't fall in love with the celebrity status real estate people. Oh, they're moguls and they're making millions. Well, some of them were porn stars before. Some of them were soap opera stars before. You could look it up and Google it. I mean, the New York Times did an article on Frederick. It's public information. We're not lying and hiding. Back in the days when I was at Douglas Elliman, my ex-husband and son are on Selling Brooklyn with Frederick. So yeah, he went from already being an actor to being a real estate mogul. God bless, but his network is what created the net worth.
Do they call that Nepo realtors?
Nepo realtors.
Yeah.
That's a great term.
And he's not the only
Nepo
one.
realtors.
I mean,
well. Oh my gosh, wait a second. The model, I keep saying Real Housewives of New York. I don't watch these shows. Maybe I watch them if I can't sleep. But the Real Housewives of New York, Kelly Ben Simone became a real estate agent. Ramona Singer became a real estate agent.
Goodness.
Kendra. Remember the show Kendra? She was married to a basketball player, the Playboy Playmate.
I don't know.
She became a realtor.
Kelly Ben Simone.
Kelly Ben Simone, she's a model. She was on Real Housewives of New York City.
Wait, a real model from like when? What year? What time period? Back in
The
my
80s,
travel
maybe?
agent days, okay, I used to do the travel for all the
The
models
90s?
for Elle magazine.
Oh, yeah, she was in Elle.
And Gilles Ben Simone was the photographer.
I'm learning so much about you.
Oh, that's her husband.
Yeah,
I think.
I have a lot to talk about, people. So
I think that's her husband. But
it's her husband, and so your network is your network.
Because imagine
your network.
These celebrities have these high net worth buyers.
Of course.
So they're gonna win all the Ellys and all the big awards because they're selling and making the most commission on the big ticket
makes
properties.
sense. I would do the same.
Yeah.
So unless you start like myself, or maybe like Janine, I mean, literally at the bottom, there was no one in my family that ever sold real estate before. My family makes sausages. They come from Italy. So, from sausages to real estate. But at the end of the day, I started totally blind as a second career. I knew nothing about Brooklyn. I moved there 18 years ago. I knew nothing about the landscape, and now I know that borough better than the Brooklynites.
Sure
and
do.
I will go toe-to-toe.
And she also knows where all the good zucchini fritters are.
Zucchini sticks are.
Wait, it says I'm a runner-up. Brooklyn Borough President runner-up. That's wrong.
Is it wrong?
I'm not a runner-up. I'll be the declared winner in November.
That's right. That's right. She's the declared winner in November.
love
We're
it. I love
projecting.
it.
We're
I
bringing
love
out
it.
our crystal ball.
You should do an episode on all the celebrity realtors.
Oh, yes.
So that
I'd
would
love
be
that.
interesting to do, right?
Yeah.
No problem. We'll go toe to
I'd
toe
listen.
with their
Yes.
knowledge too. There's plenty others too. I don't want to
I'm
bring
so
up too
excited
many
about these
names.
stories.
You know, we don't want to spoil the
Sorry.
future shows.
Sorry.
But in the meantime, yeah, I have a lot to talk about, so I could intertwine my past career in real time. Even, and look, unfortunately in life, sometimes if you're not a team player, you end up at the bottom of the barrel. Like, there's some celebrities that shouldn't really be in the spotlight. And look, there's been so many scandals over the past couple of years that I think it has been bringing light to the fact that if you're not a team player, you will not be in the spotlight. And it's unfortunate, but we're living proof that the underdogs do rise. So use your voice and get what you want. Just go for it, right? Just go for it.
I mean, I am.
I
I
am
woke up in January and I said, I don't like what they're pushing on this real estate agenda of theirs, and the city of yes too. I mean, there's so many things that the politicians are. I mean, why are they in our business?
Yeah, no, and you're even talking about, it feels like even that stigma, right? Like the idea that you guys are just money hungry or something like that.
Yeah. That's how they talk about us. And you know firsthand
that's what I was
how
about to say.
invaluable this woman was to you. And kudos to you, by the way, because a lot of people, and I know you know this, a lot of people who rent with one agent, when they're ready to buy, they call another one. They don't realize that agents who do rentals also do sales. But would you be where you are today if not for the guidance of this woman?
No, not at all. No. And Imma became like family. I mean, we thought that it would just be over once we had our renting, right, back in Brooklyn, back now 7 years ago. And just funny enough, it was just, you just kept reaching out and offering your guidance and help. You're like, if you need an air conditioner, I have some.
Oh, yeah. We have all the resources.
Yeah, she's like, check out this
do.
brewery in the neighborhood. It's really fun. And it just was like, we just kept in touch and we just kept reaching out to you because you made us feel so at home and you could just tell you cared. So that makes me angry because I'm like, no, once I got to know someone like Imma, I'm like, no, there's people out there who truly care.
Absolutely.
And they really want to just see you have a home. I mean, I even had some people come from school where I went to school in Syracuse University, and they graduated after me and they came to the city. And if you didn't even have a listing for them, you provided the resources for them to go find what they were looking for.
And you know what's so crazy?
That's incredible.
I just want to make this other point.
incredible.
Thank you, Lucy.
Yeah.
Realtors do not want rents so high. And we do not want house prices so high.
No, we do
It
not.
limits our renter pool and our buyer pool. So for all those people out there, those keyboard warriors on social media saying, oh, the houses are so high because the real estate agents, the rents are so high because we don't want the rates, the rents and the mortgage rates or the house prices so high either. I mean, I can't even afford to buy in Brooklyn anymore.
Yeah.
Like this is not, and I'm a real estate investor too, like you, we sell, but we also buy for ourselves. And no, we did not make the rent so high. We did not make the housing prices so high. We want things to be more affordable, right? We're not just talking about affordable housing. We're also talking about housing affordability. We want that because the stronger the real estate market is, the better off we are in our career. So we are not the people making real estate explode, just so you know. It's these people. The politicians. No, maybe it's not just the politicians. I mean, it's a lot of things, but it's not us.
There's a lot of
it's
things.
not us.
There's too, there are just too many variables.
Yes.
Like I said in the before, the real estate wheel has many spokes to it. So there's a lot of things that are the driving force. But do you really need to spend $4 million on a house? I mean, does it really have to cost that much? No, but supply and demand does have a factor in that. And then we want to talk a little bit or touch back on like how we were talking how tariffs can offset the real estate market. Well, the Fed also is in control of the real estate market, right? Mm-hmm. They put the money out there, the rates go up. Guess what? Real estate prices, people stabilize or they get fear, and the rates go down, the market goes up. I mean, it's a seesaw effect. It'll always be a seesaw effect. The pandemic happened to catapult us. And made people realize they can move out of the city and live somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So again, going back to that radius search, and Lucy is living proof of that. So,
but also goes back to how the government can control the real estate industry.
100%.
They completely shut us down
but
for way too long.
But for years, we lost sight in this country, unfortunately, that we the people are the government. But we have allowed an entity to actually control our money, to actually control us, And I think the pandemic was living proof of that.
Absolutely.
So, and it was definitely a tester. But at the end of the day, you still have a voice. You still have the power, but you have to want it more than we want it for you. So as long as you're ready, you grab that magical weapon, that pen, and you create that list and you put it on a vision board, and then before you know it, you'll find your steps to home ownership. And you'll call Mortgage Icon, who's not here with us today, and he will gladly
We should have had the little flat, the little flat picture of him. So he could,
right?
Yeah.
We could have put
like
him
on Apostle.
in the
Exactly.
background. But he's always more than happy to talk to people, get you on the right path, run some numbers for you. Math is critical. But and going back to Lucy really quick, I don't know if we might have to start recapping before we wrap up today. But Lucy not only went from renting to owning, jumping off the diving board is what I call it, right? But with a life jacket on. She used professionals on her side. She called Ionis. She called myself.
Yes.
So she had that life preserver. So you can jump off the diving board. I wouldn't recommend going head first without a life jacket.
Right.
But in the meantime, you want to
But take
have
some risks.
You take some risks, because no risk, no reward.
Yep.
She went into the Yonkers market. We put the empty apartment on the market, and now we signed a lease. So now that helps Lucy have a huge space for herself and her husband and her little new dog. Rescue dog. Rescue.
Yay! I was
rescues
afraid
here.
to ask if it was because you said puppy, and I was like,
No.
yay, puppy. But in my heart, I was like, oh God,
So
she
we're
bought a
all
dog.
Rescue.
Yay!
And now that mortgage, that income from that rental is offsetting their mortgage, which allows them to live with less stress on your shoulders, less worry, and less concern, but in a much bigger space. I think your rental apartment was bigger than the other ones, but
so much bigger.
small.
Yeah.
And it gives a renter a wonderful landlord.
And it gives the renter a wonderful landlord.
Because we need wonderful landlords.
And we need
Thank you.
wonderful landlords. Of course. And we want people's people. That's what we want, right?
No, really.
So,
it was really
yeah.
helpful because even when at first, we thought we had to just go through our bank because we did have a financial advisor. And I just wanted to say to your point that when we went to you, we just told you what was going on, what our whole situation was. And you were like, well, you have options. And that's what we wanted to hear. So you're like, just hear about all the options. And it was just felt so right going with Jonas because even with Jonas, he showed us all those options that we had within him. And it just was amazing. So like the help that your network, like you said, is your net worth.
100%. 100%.
Back to that point.
So, and back to empowering people to actually make a move. Don't let anything define you. Don't let where you live define you. Don't let those vouchers define you. You need a house, go for it. You need a home, go for it. You need a rental, go for it. I'm not saying go for it all by yourself. No. Get some guidance. Get yourself together. Get yourself up. Get that phone out instead of, I don't know, doing whatever it is you're doing on your phone. Start making phone calls. Call the district attorney's office. I don't know, complain. I had someone once tell me that it doesn't, I don't have the time. Well, what else are you doing? If you don't have the time, we don't have the time. It doesn't matter whether you're on a spiritual path or a biblical one. They say God or the universe will only help those who help themselves. You put it out there and it will align. And without that, you can't. It will not happen. Sitting home.
No one's going to do it for you.
No one's going to do it for you.
Sitting home wishing it to happen.
Yeah.
You may as well play the lottery.
No, exactly. I feel like sometimes a lot of people will take the time, right, to like plan a vacation, but not plan their life or plan in real estate. And it's really the same idea. It's like, what activities are you going to go do? Where do you find the best hotels? Where do you find the best locations? And you're looking at all those reviews. Why don't you do the same when it comes to things like this? Because this is your
because it's not as
assets.
sexy as a vacation. It's not.
But it can be.
Later on. Absolutely. I mean, I think real estate's sexy. I mean, I
yeah, but we go through a lot, and people don't see that, right? HDTV and all that shows you the
Oh,
glamorous parts, right? Like,
please.
oh, it's so wonderful
Right.
selling Brooklyn $5 million brownstones. That's
wait,
not like it.
selling Sunset in the
Selling
8-inch
Sunset.
stilettos. Like, this is the highest heel that I'll wear showing homes. You see that? That's the highest heel.
But it's not.
it.
It is great to be in real estate because we're actually able to help people like Lucy
Yes.
and like yourselves who want to get somewhere and realize that where you are is not the answer. But at the same time, we do a lot. We do a lot of footwork. We do a lot of driving. We do a lot.
And we genuinely
Paperwork,
care. Like,
paperwork.
I
care.
probably
We do.
stay in touch, and I'm doing real estate just as long as you, I think, with 90% of the people that I've moved out of Brooklyn, because Brooklyn is not an incoming city. It's a borough. It's an outgoing borough, right? So people are coming here for work or school, but everyone else is getting out. And I don't care where they go. I stay in touch with them. They're friends,
Yes.
they're family.
Yes.
We're all interconnected. I have people that I moved to South Carolina, and they're like, hey, Janine, you want to help my friend who's selling the unit below me? And
of course, we can help with, if you're working with a professional, like I mentioned, I never let any one neighborhood define me. I could care less. I'm not originally from Brooklyn. Everyone that knows me knows that. But I will go toe-to-toe with anybody in Brooklyn.
I did not know that until the other day.
Nobody knows that because
I thought you were born and raised in Carroll Gardens.
Brighton Beach, you name it, I'll talk about. Bergen Beach, I don't even care what part. South
Wait,
Brooklyn.
where are you from?
I'm from Astoria, Queens.
Okay.
Born and raised a Queens girl. But I moved there 18 years ago. My son, who's Tyler Vincent, is a Brooklynite. And he'll hopefully join us on
and
podcast.
Very, very tall.
And very, very talented.
And very, very... and he's going to do an art show.
Yes.
We're curating an art show for her.
Very
talented.
Very talented graffiti artist, and he is fantastic. And he's going to join us on one of these shows because,
cool.
to him, his art is real estate, right? He has such passion for it.
Well, he's getting his license.
He's getting his real estate license, so I'm hoping that he follows suit so he could be a little bit free to still do his art because I would never want to take that away from him. And so just know, whatever your dreams are, follow them. Don't let anyone stop you, because I was stopped for many years until I stopped and shut down that chatter in my head of worrying about what other people think, said, or felt, and just started focusing on how I felt.
You're an awesome mom.
Thank you, Lucy. And so that's how come I feel like with real estate, I'm allowed. I have that, not allowed. I'm empowered to help others because I know it's fear that holds everybody back. I know it stems from fear. Everything does. And so having to overcome fear myself, talking in front of a camera, never in my wildest dreams would I want to. But I overcame that through a friend of mine who insisted I stay consistent on TikTok. And so now I'm able to speak freely for hours. But I'm sure we'll get shut down.
But you got so much value to share, so it makes sense.
You really do.
So I always like to bring in my
fun stories.
Fun
Fun
stories,
stories, a lot of fun stories.
And celebrity gossip.
Yes.
Celebrity gossip. I have more.
I want more.
Yeah.
Can you do a whole podcast just on celebrity tea?
I probably can. I used to work for the airlines in 1988. I am so dating myself. I got to meet Donald Trump for the first time when he owned Trump Airways.
Wait, I took a flight on Trump. What was it called? Trump. He had a plane. He had an airline.
It was Trump.
Oh, Trump?
Trump Airways.
Trump Airways.
That makes sense.
My first flight was a Trump flight, and they gave me little peanuts. I was just like a teenager flying to Boston, I think, and it was like...
I didn't even know you had an airline.
And
that's how young
80s,
you are.
And
it was not the 80s when I took the flight.
People don't know what TWA is. I have to explain. Trans World Airways. And they're like, what was TWA? I was like, it was an airline. It was probably one of the best...
Well, they have the hotel.
They have the
hotel, yeah.
But they were probably the best airline in the world, but... Donald used to travel every other Friday with Marla Maples, and every other Friday was his ex-wife Ivanka. They'd all go to Mar-a-Lago opposite times. And he was down to earth all the time, checked in himself, no bodyguards, no nothing, just up to the counter. This is a multimillionaire who's in real estate.
Right, he's a real estate guy.
Has a vested interest in real estate.
Imagine a real estate person in politics.
Another real estate person in politics. But at the end of the day,
much about politics is real estate, right? Land use, development, wars. Every war that's ever been started is over land.
Yes.
So it behooves everybody to have a realtor in office.
But let's just bring everything really to light. Why? Because money's involved.
Yep.
Money. Unfortunately, money is the key factor, even in the stock market. People are like, when up, it goes down, the tariffs, this, everything's sort of going to go, ebb and flow. It's something else. Why? Because it's the money that roots the stock market. It's the money that roots the real estate and the land and the development. You need money to make money. You need to understand that. But there's products out there. Believe it or not, there's loans out there that are 100% financing. I know a lot of people don't talk about that. But you need good.
Does the mortgage icon
do
100%?
He does. You could do USDA loans are 100% financing. There's veterans loans.
Oh, you should do a whole podcast on the USDA and the homesteading and stuff.
Yeah, that's
so
the United
interesting.
States Department of Agriculture. In case you don't know, because I don't like using acronyms. Not everybody's aware of what they stand for. But so at the end of the day, there are products out there. Do you need credit? Of course, you need credit for everything. If your credit's not good, Ionis Khan has somebody that could clear it up or help you clear it up. Focus, get a plan, and get going and get moving, and vote for Janine, because we're going to keep it real.
Thank
with
you.
the new BBP. Brooklyn
no, you got to do the
Borough
song.
Okay.
No, you're down.
Oh,
you down with BBP?
You know
it's
me?
Is it you know me or Janine?
Wait, oh,
I thought
gosh,
it was
all right.
I thought it's you know Janine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't
you know
ask
Janine.
us to
Okay.
be rap
Okay,
singers.
forget
We'll
it.
never make it.
You know
but
Janine.
We needed to practice that. It's
Do
just,
you know Janine?
No, it's you know Janine.
You know
Oh, yeah,
Janine?
you
down
know
with
Janine?
B-
You
Wait,
down
you
with
know the
BBP?
BBP?
I'm the
Oh,
one
you
who
know
came up with this
Janine?
idea, and I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
even remember my own idea.
We'll practice and come
We'll
back
practice
maybe.
and we'll come back. Maybe we'll invite
Let me know when the track comes out.
TMC to sing it for us.
Oh, that'd be fun.
That would be fun, right? I just met him again at a friend of mine.
Wait, is he from Brooklyn?
Store. He's a Queens.
He's a Queens guy.
Yeah. So he's from Queens. A lot of great rappers came out of Queens and
Yes.
Brooklyn. So we
Some
love
of the
that.
best.
Urban music.
I don't think any good rappers came out of the Bronx, did they?
Uh,
I think it's all Queens and Brooklyn.
I don't think all,
Rappers
but yeah,
wise?
the majority. Yeah, I'm sure
I'm
someone's
gonna
from the
I'm
Bronx.
gonna Google that.
But in
Not
the
rapper, I
meantime-
guess, but J-Lo. I was like thinking, but yeah,
Oh,
not rapper.
yeah.
Yeah, J-Lo.
Oh, there she is.
Jenny from the Bronx. So, and she owns real estate, right? So, everyone just get a piece of the apple, if that's what you want. And if it's another state, let us know because we have tentacles everywhere. We're like an octopus.
Yeah.
No.
Network.
No,
Is
no,
your
no.
network.
Network is your net worth. Exactly.
always come back
so
to that
that's
point.
a key word that you need to remember. So just invest in yourself.
Yeah,
Right, Janine?
absolutely.
You're your biggest investment.
Yeah. And so what else can we share to finally recap these last moments other than...
Money's important. You can be a homeowner. You could be a home renter. So, not to introduce a whole new topic, but I was speaking to some people this morning and they're like, oh, we don't want to own a home.
Why?
And none of our friends do, Janine. I go, what do you mean? You want to just rent? Yeah, it's less work. So I feel like we're going into a different territory.
We are, but here goes. Hold on. These people are being a little foolish because this is what happens if you don't scale up all the time to meet the demand. You will find yourself
Behind
you will be way behind the 8 ball by
Yeah.
the time you reach my age.
When?
And you will be saying, where am I going to live? And now, guess what? Your limited income that you are not scaling up because you think you're going to be so flighty, you will not
But
be able
this
to
is
find
the
housing.
chatter that's going on. With
That's
what's younger than a
ridiculous.
millennial? That's
Gen X, right?
no.
Gen X.
I'm Gen Y.
So
You're
I'm sorry,
millennial.
Gen Z. Sorry. I'm
Gen
also
Z.
So we have
Yeah,
X,
sorry
Y,
about
and
that.
Z in the room, okay?
Yeah.
Where's ABC?
But
I don't
listen, there were like probably about 12 of them, and so of course I'm like taking a poll. Yeah, no, we don't want to be homeowners.
No, it makes no sense,
okay.
especially if you want to have kids. Like, what about the legacy you want to leave? Don't you want to be able
Well,
to
how
give
about
something
security?
to them?
Security. How about security?
Growing your wealth. I mean, it doesn't make sense to.
They don't want the headache.
Look, we can't talk
makes no
enough
sense
about
to
this.
me.
There's just
Yeah.
too much to talk
It'll
about.
be really
you rent an
interesting.
apartment for 10 years, the landlord sells the building. You're on the street, and you didn't scale up because he kept your rent low for 10 years, and now you can't afford the new rents. It is a mistake not to think about that. If you're paying a low rent, something below market, you should be putting that money away every day to protect yourself. I don't care if you
Absolutely.
want to float around the whole country. Airfares are going up. Gas is going
Everything's
up.
going up.
Cars are going up. So, I mean, you have to be a little realistic. I understand not wanting to be tied to any one particular thing. I understand that kind of like free spirit, let me float. How about this? Buy something so you can always return home to it.
Absolutely.
While you're floating around. Even if it's in South Carolina, there are so many condos for sale that are under $200,000.
Yes,
People,
I've
you
seen
can
that.
buy one, rent it out
Houses.
right now. Houses.
North Carolina, I just saw this cute, the
Uh-huh.
cutest
I'm
little
always
beach
seeing
bungalow. I was
that.
thinking
Oh my
about buying it
gosh.
as an investment.
Yeah, there's so many ways.
300,000.
Where in North
Oh
Carolina?
gosh, I don't know, but I'll get you the link. But it's got 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, garage. It's in a community. Avalon? Does that sound Avalon, North Carolina?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
Yeah.
It's like a community.
You want to have an
300,000.
sounds
anchor.
awesome.
You want to anchor yourself to at least one thing and let it run itself. You can
Absolutely.
buy something even in Puerto Rico as a condo, Airbnb.
Yeah.
She's an investor in Puerto Rico.
That's
I
awesome.
have something in South Carolina. I know that one day, if I don't want to live in New York anymore, I'll go down to South Carolina.
Right.
It's affordable. You can totally pull it off. You want some help doing that, and float around the country as much as you want.
and they have
Live
those,
your
like,
free-spirited
home
life. Nobody
swaps now.
cares.
Oh yeah.
But
So
rest
swapping.
assured, a developer once told me, don't wait to buy real estate. You buy the
Absolutely.
real estate and then you wait, because what'll happen, you will wake up one day, find yourself, me, like my age, or older, and be like, I should have bought that 20 years ago because it was only 200. Today it's $1 million.
Yep.
Trust me, we've seen it happen. We continue to see it happen. There's only a finite amount of waterfront. If that's what you like, grab it now. There's only a finite amount of brownstones. If that's what you want, go grab it now. They're not going to be building new brownstones in Brooklyn. They wouldn't be able to afford. No one would be able to afford a brand new brownstone built from ground up. Too expensive. But if you can get your claws on it. I know, a dream, right? Dream come true is to buy a brownstone in Brooklyn. But at the end of the day, even if it's something small, even if it is a co-op, even if that is something you can anchor yourself to, there's so many opportunities all over this great land. Find something, anchor yourself. Don't leave yourself floating.
Right. And also I would just say, like, don't have that shame, like, you know, that you're thinking, oh, I don't, especially with everything going on, it might feel so chaotic, and you're thinking, oh, like, I'm just behind. If I get to talking to someone, I'm going to feel so shameful that I haven't made the plans yet. Yeah. Especially people like you both, honestly, like you never made me feel ashamed, or my husband and I feel ashamed about where we're at. You're just like, no, like, this is important that you're coming to us right now.
Good point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you can move forward.
It's never too late.
Yeah, it's never too late. That's like the point I'm making.
Yeah, so I usually tell people, like, one, show me the money. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it in a good way. If you don't show us, we can't help you. I always say it's time to get naked. I don't mean physically. We're not going to start taking our clothes off. But I want you to bear your financial situation. Because without us seeing the entire big picture, we will never be able to help you. Because you could be...
And be honest.
And, well, that requires being naked, right? Because, like, really, when you think of, my gosh, I'm be naked? Yeah, I want you to bear yourself, not physically, but financially, on paper for us.
And that's why it's so important to find a reputable real estate professional.
100%, because a lot of them
you are going to, and you're also going to be giving them, you know, everything, right?
Yeah.
All your documents, all your secrets, all your. We know too much, right? It's like, well, I want to buy that. Well, you know, you don't have enough money. Well, I have $1 million under my mattress. Well, I know where you live.
Yeah,
You know, so find somebody that is reputable. Look up reviews. Ask for referrals. I'm sure if anybody comes to you for, you know, real estate, you're going to be like, oh my God, Imma.
Always.
And so, you know, ask around. Don't go and find the first person and I would even say, don't go if you're going to see a house or an apartment, don't stick with the listing agent, right? So many people are lazy in that way. Like, find your fit.
Here goes. The listing agents, sometimes they don't have the time to help you go find something else.
Well, and they're not working in your interest as a buyer or a renter.
And that's how it felt, too.
Yeah, you need your own representation.
Yeah, for everybody else, it felt that way.
If you go directly to a listing agent and then think, oh, do you have anything else? Look, they're there to sell that property. They're there to rent that property. They don't want to hear about, do you have anything else? That's your job, again, to get up and go find yourself something else.
We really don't.
Now, you want to have representation, then you'll work with someone who works on the buy side or who works on the renter side. And then it's in their best interest to run around the town with you and find
you the best price.
But you have to trust them.
You do.
Because, you know, they say sellers are yellers and buyers are liars, right? Because they're like, oh, we're going to see this, we're going to see that. And then before you know it, they're somewhere else. And so we don't want that. We want everyone to stay together. You need a team.
Yes.
No island was made by itself, whatever that saying is about no man is an island or whatever. You know, we all have to, like, nothing.
Never heard that one.
Nothing starts with one person.
She just made that up with her little magic wand that we said we didn't have earlier.
Yeah, my magic wand. I forgot it. Yeah.
Next podcast, you better have your magic wand, your 8-ball, your crystal ball. I want to see it all there when I watch you.
It'll all be here on the mole game.
Okay.
Well,
you've got a pineapple.
Abandon fear, become fearless. Go for that house. Go for that rental. Don't let anything define you. Those are my recap before we wrap moments. Anyone want to share something else?
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, seriously.
This was
so
fun.
We'll have to do it again. Wait till you meet Mortgage Icon. He's gonna be so happy to be.
Oh, but I love the girl thing. But we'll get the icon on when I make my iconic announcement.
Oh yeah. So let's just plug this one more time here. Janine, first female Latina running for Brooklyn Borough President.
Yeah, running.
So excited.
Running.
Actually, I would be the first Brooklyn Borough President ever elected, the first Latina female Brooklyn Borough President ever elected. But I am already making history because I believe I am only the third female to ever run in the general election, and never has there been a female Latina to run. So.
See that?
It's already incredible. Making history. So we could have Mortgage Icon, the iconic Brooklyn Borough President, and whoever else you decide to invite. We'll make it an icon.
We'll make it
an icon podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. Icon.
Boss ladies
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
You'll have to bring a celebrity icon.
Yes. Oh my
We
goodness.
Okay.
I'm ready for it.
I'm ready too.
We will.
We'll bring the popcorn.
There'll be plenty of them that'll share their story.
Cool.
You know, they're human too.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, they
But they're just a little more interesting than us, aren't they?
yeah, but
Little
the
bit.
public seems to always think that because they're who they are, that they have opportunities that are not given to everyone. They face the same challenges.
Oh,
They
yes.
get rejected for co-ops. They might even get rejected for loans. I mean, look, they might make more money. They spend more money. Their
Right.
debt to income ratio could be high that year.
Yeah.
They're self-employed. I mean, the list is endless.
Mm-hmm.
Don't look at it that way. Don't let
Their
that
attitudes.
stop you.
Yes.
You know, exactly.
Their attitudes could get them the
They-
boot out of a co-op interview.
Their attitudes to get them booed out of a co-op
definitely see
interview.
that.
So, you know, and then you have some really good celebrities that are so down to earth. And look, when I was in Greece and Sarah Jessica Parker was in Greece, she was, like I mentioned before, I did her travel. She invited me to her villa. I didn't go. I had my sister with
That is
me.
so cool.
I said, no, let's just keep it professional. Don't go. I don't want to blend the lines, you know.
Yeah.
But she was down to earth and very realistic. You know, everyone I ever spoke to in that world and in that, you know, the majority of them were pretty decent. Annabella Sciorra, she was great, you know.
Oh, she was in Jungle Fever.
She was in Jungle Fever. She was in The
fantastic.
Sopranos. She's very down to earth. And like I mentioned before, sometimes, you know, if you're not a team player, you don't really rise as fast as you should. It's unfortunate that that exists, but don't let it stop you. Didn't stop her from acting still, right? But there's challenges in every facet. It doesn't matter what scale you're on. At the end of the day, we're all part of one race.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yes.
human race.
That's
and
right.
That's it.
That's
And
it.
so, help each other.
That's right.
Yes.
Pull each other up, not down.
Yes.
Yes.
There's room for everyone at the top, so might as well. There's
room
no
for everyone.
no competition. We can
The
all be there.
world, the universe is tremendous.
It is.
We're just a speck. Anybody else closing?
Just grateful to be here. Grateful that you both are now in my network.
Wait,
you,
she
Janine.
just did a White Lotus moment. Grateful to be at the table. Any White Lotus fans? No? Okay.
I only recently just heard about it. I know. I need to watch it.
What?
Lotus?
Oh my. Okay, I'm
it's a
done.
show.
We're never gonna wrap this up if we get White Lotus. She
cut it.
literally just said one of the last lines. You saw it. I saw your face. Yes, like you, I am happy to be at the table. So thank you again. Great
Thank you for
conversation.
coming.
Great
Thanks
women.
for coming. I'm
Thank
looking
you.
forward to the next 1,000,000 episodes.
Yes. Amazing.
Yeah. Thanks again. Janine,
You're welcome.
you're going to win.
Thanks. I think so.
What do you think, Lucy?
Yes. No.
I
this
wouldn't
is
have
so
entered if I
exciting.
didn't think I could win.
You're going to win.
Right?
I could feel it. Brooklyn needs change.
Brooklyn needs a woman.
Brooklyn needs a woman. You know, I don't even know who the Brooklyn Borough President is. I really don't. Like right now. Because he's so not, visible. He's just not.
Everyone has a different style.
Yeah.
You know.
You need a people's people.
I'm the
You
kind
need
of
someone
person
who
that
wants
will
to get
jump
out
on a
there.
podcast and throw my leg up in the air and
Right. That's what we want.
Show off her high heels.
This is as high as they get. I have
So-
socks on. They're just
Yeah.
down there somewhere. Oh my
That's
God,
good.
now I'm like, wait, do I have lotion on? Oh my gosh. It was a late night.
As we recap before we wrap, we want to make sure we let you know how to find us. We're on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Instagram, and YouTube. Be sure to join us. Looking forward to the next episode.